Ready? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to get started now. So this is a special meeting of the Hollister City Council on June 6th. This meeting is now called to order at 6:32. Council member Janet, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Okay, good. Okay, City Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Pache,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Councilmember Morales,
Here.
Councilmember DeAnda,
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. Okay, so we're going to start this agenda this meeting with closed session. So, City Clerk, are there any public comment on the closed session items?
No, Mayor.
Okay. City Attorney, can you, okay?
Yes. 4.1, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representative, City Manager David Marioni, and City Attorney Mary Lerner, Employee Organization, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 521, Hollister Firefighters Union, HFFU, Local 3395, Hollister Peace Officer Association, HPOA, and unrepresented employees. Item 4.2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. Initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of Section 54956.9 of the Government Code, deciding whether to initiate litigation, one case.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to head into closed session and then we will be back as soon as possible. Thank you.
I'll chat and good to see you. I never write anything. I know, but you're good. I used to write everything down. Now I just give it all. It's all good. She said, so my niece,
So our video feed for Zoom is currently not working. We can still take public comment on Zoom. You just cannot see the video. If you would like to watch our video, you could do that through the city's website or through the community access channel, CMAP's YouTube for the city of Hollister.
Okay.
But the public comment
The
on Zoom
pub-
is
Okay,
working.
okay, okay, good. Okay, well, sorry for those technical difficulties, but yeah, just raise your hand, right? *9 on a cell phone if you want to make a comment. Okay, so City Attorney, anything to report on closed session?
Nothing to report, Mayor and Council.
Okay, okay, so we're going to move on to council business. We're going to go to 5.1, consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving amendments to the Fire Protection Service Agreement for the County of San Benito and the City of San Juan Bautista. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yeah, give it just a minute. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation that she'll be bringing up. Thank you. So good evening. The item we have before you is proposed amendments to the fire protection service agreements for both the county of San Benito and the city of San Juan Bautista. And so, as you know, we've had multiple discussions regarding the contracts. We've had different options that have come through, and we have been working to put an agreement together that is beneficial, that maintains this contract, which is providing more engines and personnel within the department to provide services to the community. It also ensures that our surrounding fire companies coming in to assist on calls throughout the city have the same level of training, are utilizing similar equipment, and operate under the same policies and procedures. Additionally, establishing continuity among our surrounding partners that keeps our auto aid and mutual aid relationships intact. And so what I'd like to do is go through the terms with you and just kind of walk through the process and then take any questions that you may have. So first, for the county of San Benito, what we did is we looked at the previously submitted terms and have made some minor modifications. So this agreement would extend the term, I'm sorry, it says from to, it should say to June 30th of 2029. The termination clause from the last item that your council had approved basically is updated to allow for the termination due to lack of payment, or under the case of a formation of a fire district, which would call for a mutual termination amongst both parties. The payment schedule would be aligned with the fiscal year instead of the calendar year for fiscal year 24-25. So if approved, it would take effect this current fiscal year. The annual rate for the fire services would be increased by $1.1 million to a new rate of 3.37. The county shall reimburse the city for up to $400,000 of eligible expenses from the county's current fire impact fee study. We have the date range there in accordance with the Mitigation Fee Act, and the eligible expenses shall include, but are not limited to, fire protection services, equipment, training, and other related costs incurred by the city providing services under the agreement. And then ownership of the equipment reimbursed through this provision would be transferred to the county and operated and maintained by the city. This is similar language that you had seen before. The county shall reimburse the city for SCR 911 ambulatory expenses charged to the city. So that's something that we've been working through with SCR 911, as there was some charges that came through the city's contract that should have been through the county side on the ambulatory services. We would collaborate, this is language that you've seen before, with the Santa Cruz County 911 Dispatch Center to develop and implement protocols that effectively prioritize emergency service calls. And we can get into that more if you like, and the chief can give a little bit deeper dive into that. And then the city would bill the county quarterly per the city's current fee schedule for time worked related to development review and inspections. As you know, your council approved updated fee schedules. And so we would align those services to those fees. Similar to the language that's in the current contract, the county designated engine shall provide no less than a two-person response to all incidents. Staffing levels would be determined by the city. We have had discussions with your council about staying at 3 at our stations, and that is the intent. I'll ask our fire chief to speak on that as well when I get to the end of the conversation. Can you please reactivate the PowerPoint? Just click on it. There. Thank you. And it does have the 3% escalator that's built in. For the city of San Juan, similar, extend the agreement to June 30th of 29. Same termination clause, lack of payment or formation of a fire district with mutual termination. Again, aligning the payment schedule with the fiscal year instead of the calendar year. It would take place for this fiscal year, which would start at $418,000. And then beginning in the fiscal year of 25-26, an annual escalator of 11% would be applied to the previous year's rate. We would have the language removed regarding the facility agreement that is included in the original contract from 2019. Again, similar language about the no less than a two-person response, and the same comment about that I just mentioned on the city or on the county side of the intent to staff at a 3-person model as currently practiced. Next steps, if approved this evening, the staff would send the amendments to both jurisdictions for their consideration and approval. Following such approval by both agencies, both amendments would become effective consistent with the amendment terms. And I'd like to give a minute to have our fire chief come up and add some context to and comments to the presentation as well.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Ultimately, I believe I've stood up here multiple times in front of this jurisdiction and the other 2 jurisdictions. We've talked about staffing, we've talked about funding. I believe the funding for the fire service in this county is underfunded. I think we need to do more. I think, however, that trying to move forward as a joint agency is better for all 3 jurisdictions. Dissolving this, I think, increases our costs and reduces our service. I know when the city manager asked me my heartache over this, that 2-person company is a major heartache for me. And I made it clear my intention is any engine that we staff will be staffed with a minimum of 3. I have no intention of dropping to 2, even though it says minimum staffing. On a go-forward basis for all this, we're going to maintain the staffing that we have with 3 personnel in all 4 stations. So ultimately, I don't think this is a perfect contract by any means, but I do think it's the best thing we have before us.
With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Chief, maybe you could stay up to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? Councilmember Resendes?
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the presentation. So do you think it's within our best interest to move for everybody to start exploring moving towards a fire district?
I absolutely think
Okay.
it is. Yeah.
And this is going to help us do that.
I think this is the first step because then we can focus on trying to move forward with the fire district and what our next steps are versus trying to figure out how we unwind this and how we function.
All right. I agree with you. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So the only way that we can terminate this contract is for non-payment, and if we ever go to a fire district, whether it's now or 10 years from now, potentially. Can you tell me, city manager, what the city will have to pay for? So there's an actual cost, and then there's a reimbursed cost. What is the difference, and what is the city gonna be supplementing?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. So if you look at it from the overall totality of the system, right, then you still have the fire protection to provide for the city of Hollister as well, right? And so what in working with the fire chief and the team is you still have overall, I mean, we're looking at through the budget process. The chief has done a good job, and as have other departments through this process of looking at ways to reduce costs. So as you reduce costs, that naturally that percentage goes up. Overall, this pays for over a total cost of a full station. However, we do get the benefit of the response throughout the county. So maybe Chief, you could talk about just recently some of the calls where you had San Juan coming into Hollister and how that all works and how that benefits overall the totality of the system.
Yeah, ultimately, to service in our current situation, to service the city of Hollister, we need 4 companies. We absolutely do. There's not a substantial system around us, so we have the 4 companies. So recently, in the past few weeks, there's been times where I have been the only person responding to a call because all of our other units were on calls already. I think about a week and a half ago, Engine 14 out of San Juan Bautista spent a couple hours running calls in the city of Hollister because the other companies were all busy on calls. So to the point, we all benefit from this. We all lean on each other. We utilize all 4 of those companies here inside of Hollister, just like all 4 companies are used outside of Hollister. And so when we talk about the cost and what we're supplementing or those types of things, you can't really put a number on it because there's times where we're heavily using all 4 of those companies and times where those 4 companies are being used outside of the city. We ultimately, to provide the services to the city of Hollister, need to have those 4 companies. And in this case, we work with our partners and they pay a portion of that because we also cover their areas.
Do you have a number?
Based on the proposed budget that we're working through, each station, if you were to look at it from a station standpoint, call it roughly, if you were to spread the administrative costs across everything, call it about $3.5 million per station. This gets you over roughly about $4 million. And so if you were looking at it from a standpoint of if this went away, what does the service look like for the city of Hollister? And what can you provide at that point? And so, you know, even if you were at 3 stations in the city, what does that look like from a cost perspective? And so, or 3 companies, I'm sorry. So by executing this, we'd get to maintain the level of coverage that you have throughout the city, as well as Chief mentioned, and I think I mentioned in the beginning, all of your auto aid and preserving all of the existing relationships and continuity that you have now.
Other questions? Do you have any questions, Vice Mayor?
I do.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of anxiety over this. A lot of people in the county, a lot of people in my district, people are worried about their insurance. You know, this is something that's massively important. The costs have always been a huge issue. There's been numbers thrown around by previous leaders of Hollister. Something like $11,000, $10,000 per day, right? Have been thrown around. That the Hollister taxpayers pay to help provide fire service to the much larger county, right? The city is like 9 square miles. The county is like almost 1,400. With this agreement, I know we're getting more from the county, you know, should they step back up and get back to the table. What would that number potentially come down to? Do we have any information as far as like what the city taxpayer would pay per day to help pay for county fire?
I don't have that specific number, but how I would look at it is more from a perspective of if you didn't have the contract, how are you still, like, you still have to look at how you're providing services for the community itself. You're still collecting funding through CFDs and Melloru's. So how does that all come into play as well? You still have to provide your level of service to the residents regardless. So this is offsetting some of those costs as well as giving you the continuity amongst the whole team and the whole, you know, all 4 companies. And Chief, if you would like to add to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say you could look at it a different way. We need 4 companies. This is our partners helping us pay for those 4 companies that we need anyways. And at the times where they're running around and we can't handle the calls, our borders now hit our auto aid and mutual aid partners, where if we didn't have this, we would have to try and go through the county fire department and get whatever they had available to us before we went on to the other partner agencies, CAL FIRE, in Santa Clara, Aromas Tri-Counties. Here, there are borders. So as soon as we end up utilizing our resources, we can automatically jump to them. So I look at it more of, we need the 4 companies. San Juan and the county would be helping us pay for those 4 companies. There's a ton of different ways to look at it, but I think that's the best way to look at it right now, is they're helping us pay for the 4 companies that we need for Hollister.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do you have another question? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor. If we move forward with this contract, are we going to be saving all of the firefighters' jobs? Are we going to keep them employed here?
I would say yes. I mean, we're,
We were not moving forward with this. Would you be able to say yes to that question?
I don't have an answer for that because I haven't been given my budget yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to public comment. If there's no more questions, let's move to public comment. So if you have a comment to make, please fill out your yellow card, bring it up to the city clerk, and then we'll get started. Okay.
Elia Salinas. She'll be followed by Mia Casey.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. It is my opinion that under coercion, this issue has been made as the best possible option for fear of losing jobs. So the firefighters must stick together to hold up each other to make sure that none of their comrades lose their job. There must be a termination clause. There must be a minimum of 3, as stated many times, mentioned before, because of safety concerns for firefighters. Giving gateway to a 2 minimum of firefighters may cause staff positions to be eventually eliminated. That is my fear. If you agree to this minimum of 2, the chief has mentioned that he will do only a minimum of 3 unless so ordered. The chief gets his orders from the city manager. City manager gets their orders from the council. Shouldn't be getting orders from one individual person, but the entire council, because it is by consent. The city manager is placed in an awkward position because the dilemma is that for fear of his employment, one member just needs to have 3 votes and the city manager loses his job. Same thing occurs with the police chief. So you're the stewards of the city. You're the stewards that are responsible and placed on here to make sure that the city is run accurately and that the city's most important priority is public safety. You will be subsidizing San Benito County for over $4 million every year. How can you sit there and justify and not go back and negotiate with the county? The county's also crying to be in a fiscal crisis. Are they really? They're about to approve $48 million just for roads, and roads that are less traveled, not those that are highly traveled. So the priorities for San Benito County are a little off right now. And there's 3 votes right now that are running it. It's all happening under our very noses, even though common sense doesn't reach them. I ask you to please consider the safety of the firefighters. In this contract, there's absolutely no reason why you do not have a termination clause, and there is absolutely no reason why you cannot consider the county to give you more money. There's absolutely no reason for you to sit there and let the San Benito County pull the wool over your eyes. You too are in a financial deficit. Don't give it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salinas. Next speaker.
Mia Casey, followed by Carol Lenore.
Good evening.
I'm deeply concerned and frankly, I'm really disappointed. Here we are on a Friday night, graduation day for a lot of families, and the city gave barely 24 hours notice to the public so that they could be here. This is a critical meeting that impacts public safety and the financial future of Hollister. And this lack of transparency really, it undermines trust and it feels intentional, whether it was meant to be or not. And why is it? Because the city council seems to be trying to push through, which is basically a recycled contract from last March with a few tweaks. It was rejected in March after significant public outcry. So let's be honest, Mayor Stevens and Councilmember Resendez, many of us suspected this was going to come back before us, this rejected contract. Didn't like it then, don't like it now. It fails to address the core issue, which brought us here, which is that Hollister taxpayers are subsidizing the county by nearly $4 million. But here you are proposing to accept 1.1 million. That's not negotiation, that's capitulation. And what's worse, this proposal extends the agreement to 4 years. That's part of why we got into this problem with that 2019 contract, 6 years long, locked in at 3% a year when inflation was 6 and 7%. As far as the termination clause, locking us into that for 4 years, if the county unless the county fails to pay, or we get a fire district, which may or may not happen. We've been talking about that for 20 years. And even if every agency agrees, it doesn't mean the public will, and they have to vote on it. So that's a consideration not to put all those eggs in that basket. As far as the termination clause, though, that's not standard not to have one. In fact, it's reckless. There's no flexibility, no accountability, and no financial balance. What's even more frustrating to me is that we now know the county has allotted 6.4 million for their fire department budget that they said they didn't have. So why are we not seeking some parity here? Why aren't we negotiating or trying a phased in approach, say 2 million this year and 2 million next year, and then do the 3% increases for 2 years? That would provide stability for Hollister, not just for the county, and it would protect our public safety. And I'm really disappointed to see that we're talking about 2 firefighters per truck. I know that Hollister currently staffs firefighters 3 per truck, but how long before the city's fiscal crisis, which is going to go on for a while until you can get those audits caught up, how long until you're pointing at that contract saying it says 2 per truck and we have to reduce staff? I don't trust that won't happen. This isn't collaboration or transparency. This comes from backroom dealing, and it's being done at the expense of Hollister residents and our public safety personnel. We all deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Next speaker.
Carol Lenore, followed by Alice.
Good evening. I was a little shocked to see that it came back worse, not better. And I'm a little more disappointed that staff seems to be acquiescing to the county's proposal. Let me tell you, I get the impression you're more concerned about the county's financial situation than you are your own city that you run over here. They got themselves in a hole. Well, they should get out, but not at the sacrifice of not paying their fair share. How are you going to do that? They need to pay at least 2 million more a year. That's a joke. And you can't run a fire truck with 2 people. That's criminal. That's criminal neglect. If I was on your ad hoc, I would not be giving into this contract. No way. And they would have to do better. Or they can go beg CAL FIRE and pay twice as much than what we want from them. So please, this is not good. It's not good for the city of Hollister. Start being concerned about your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lenore. Next speaker.
Alice, followed by Suzanne.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Alice. I have been a resident of Hollister for 18 years. And I would like to start my comment by asking all of you to please take a look around this room. What do you see? Do you see men, women, some families, just ordinary people? You're wrong. What you should be seeing is your employers. You work for us. You work for the voters. You guys don't seem to realize that because we've been up here week after week, month after month, all of us asking for the same things. Protect these guys. Be reasonable. 3 per truck. That's not that hard to ask. There's money out there that supervisors have. They're not showing it, but we know it's there. We need you guys to listen to the voters. We are your employers, and you guys, I'm sorry to be rude, but you need to act like it. Because you guys aren't showing that we mean anything to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Next speaker.
Suzanne, followed by Joe.
Good evening. I don't have numbers and stats like some of the other speakers do, but I would just ask that you listen to the firefighters, listen to their labor organization, listen to their chief, do what they're asking. They know better than all of us how to keep all of us safe. And now one thing I did like about this and keeping those boundaries that we can still ask for help and mutual aid, I think is increasingly important as more and more houses are being built all around us. Please listen to your firefighters and keep them safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Next speaker.
Joe, followed by Kelly.
Evening, City Council. I don't have much to say, except for I appreciate the fire chiefs, I appreciate the fire chief swaying my concerns earlier and you know, helping me feel a little bit better about the situation, which it does not feel like a good situation to be in, but I was a lot more scared before I started. So I feel like I just want to say my hats off to the fire chief for helping to assuage some of my concerns. Maybe Casey kind of stole my thunder a little bit when she said capitulation. I wanted to use that word. But that's because that's kind of the vibe I got. Acquiesce was not on my word of the day. So, but that's a good way of saying it too. But it does feel less like acquiescence, because acquiescence feels more like something you do versus capitulation is something you're like forced into, and that's kind of what it feels like here. Is that it feels more like it feels like like we're just kind of like giving up in a bad situation, and I'm the last person in the world who should be telling anyone what to do. The fire chief is obviously way more knowledgeable at this than me, so I can't really say what anyone should do. But I would like to consider that I would like folks to consider that there are a spectrum of options. For example, maybe we can talk to the county about paying for like a third of whatever they're supposed to pay. I don't know. I know that there's a spectrum of options available to us, and this feels like the lower end of that spectrum. But again, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it feels to me. And at the end of the day, we are the voters, we are the taxpayers, we are the people, and firefighters chose their jobs to protect us. You guys chose your jobs to serve us. And that at the end of the day, we are the people who are going to decide how we feel about that and what we will do about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Next speaker.
Kelly.
Good evening. We are a relatively new Hollister resident. We're part of the traffic problem, for those of you who are wondering. Well, not exactly, because I work locally. At any rate, what I hear is a lack of cooperation, a spirit of discooperation. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm mostly functionally unemployable. Y'all are acting kind of funky. No one's operating in the best interest of everybody else. It's a little fiefdom from what I can tell. That's not leadership. That is not leadership. Leadership is cooperation. How many of you have dialed 911 for a loved one or a fire? Raise your hands. None of you have. Miss Morales, do you know what it's like when you hear the fire department, when you hear the sirens? Can you breathe again? Yeah, I've been there for a little baby. The fire department is incredibly important. They keep the community safer. No one can keep us safe, but they keep us safer. So the reindeer games that are going on, hard stop now. Decide what you would want done if you were in this audience. Decide what you would want done if you were the firefighter at risk of losing his or her job. Decide if you were the constituent hitting 911 when 2 people show up. Decide, how does that work for you? It doesn't. Go to the county, figure out what you can get out of them. Stop clowning around with, let's bring it back, let's turn it upside down, let's change 4 language, 4 words. Stop. Just stop. Be cooperative with one another. We will cooperate with you. And it doesn't, you guys are making it adversarial. And we're stepping up as the public, right, to meet your adversarialness. You've got to lead. You've got to lead. And this is not leadership. Make no mistake. Calling a meeting on a Friday night, hoping that no one will show up, please. That's pretty transparent. That's pretty transparent. Be the leader that you would want done for you. If this is the best you can do and this is what y'all would want to do, if you were in our shoes, you guys suck. Sorry, I don't know of a more professional, descriptive word. Cooperate, get the job done, protect the firefighters, but most importantly, protect us who live in Hollister. I'd be really curious what the stats were on what percentage of the firefighters' time and resources and the money that it costs running outside of the Hollister.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Next speaker.
Jonathan Casey.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Just a couple of things. My main point is go back to 2019. These were the exact same comments that were made then. This is the best we can do. We need to do this. This is where we are and what we need to do. I beg you to go back and listen to that. And Ignacio Blasquez said, this is a bad deal for Hollister. And now we're signing another bad deal that we can't get out of. It's going to be even 10 times harder to get out of. And I agree, a district is a possibility, but probably not a good possibility. The county just put in their preliminary budget $6 million. Okay, so if they can't do all that right now, let's do a proper escalator. 3% isn't going to do it, and start with a proper number. We just left $1 million on the table. That was one of your negotiating points to say to catch up for the last year. Hey, we've been negotiating this. Put some dollars on the table, county. They didn't. So now we're back to we lose that money, and now we've got the $1 million add-on, which clearly isn't enough. I don't trust that the county isn't going to say, 2 people at a station, and if you need support, bring a third from another station. Okay, I think that's what's going more than likely what's going to happen, because they're not going to want to do it. With a contract this long, you have to have that proper escalator. It's just critical that we do that, at least at a minimum, to say, catch up, county. We're going to start like San Juan Bautista did with the 11%. Let's get a proper escalator in the contract before we present this to the county. I think, it's, and again, my main point is go back and listen to 2019, to what was being said then, and you're going to say, yeah, we are saying the same things that they said then. It's really important. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Casey. Next speaker.
There are no more speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the council. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, just one question for you, if you can. So I remember that there was language in the last contracts that stated that there was minimum staffing of 2, right?
In the San Juan one, it said 3. In the county one, it said 2.
Have we ever staffed at 2?
No, in the beginning of San Juan, it was a little bit different format. But I would have to, I don't believe we've always staffed with 3.
Right. Okay, and I think that we will continue to honor that, especially with you at the lead. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So our My concern has always been our community safety and being able to provide services. And I think we all know that we here can change. Our city manager, city attorney can change at any time. Our chief can change at any time. The default is whatever's in writing. It will always be whatever's in writing. A structural deficit starts somehow. In 2019, it started. In 2015, it started. And I do applaud our city manager for trying to, get our budget balance and trying to fix and trying to resolve issues before the end of the year. In a contract, you need an exit strategy. In a contract, you have the terms in which you think you can do. And then if you can do more, then that's great. So in the contract, it should say 3. Even if we're asking for payment for 2, because the payment amount is already in the contract. They're not going to pay any more than that, but the minimums should be at least be in writing in terms of 3, not 2. Even if we are going to staff at 3, because the money's not going to change, it's not going to increase. This isn't any different than what we saw a while ago. If our partners are willing to engage, then it should not be extended to 4 years. We started at 3, should not be extended at 4. We should start looking at 1 to have a little bit more time to negotiate and really think about what this is going to look like, set proper timelines for the fire district. Again, we all can change at any point. At the end of the day, it's what's in writing. Having 3 instead of 2 doesn't change the total contract amount. The two minimums for me is have it in writing to have three staff. The money doesn't need to change. And then to have an exit strategy. If something happens, then at least we can get out instead of, 4 years, maybe in 1 year, so that we can regroup and re-strategize and look at how we can provide services to community and keep our staff safe because they deserve it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Morales. Any questions or comments?
My concern is that this is very important, and bringing this back to a place that it basically originated, it feels, I don't know, it just doesn't feel, it feels like we're rushing back to the past. I've heard it was around $10,000 per day for the city residents to pay. City residents are paying about $10,000 a day to provide county fire activities. And when speaking with staff previously, I heard with this contract, as if we go back to the future or whatever, that $10,000 a day was going to come down to $7,000. So it was a better deal for the city taxpayer, but still not the best deal. And I know the county has been spending a lot of money on roads, which is great, right? We all use roads. That's great. And going from 2.4 million with the old contract coming to, with the county coming 1.1 million more, totaling 3.5, but it really costs us a lot more. 6 million really, in my gut, felt better, right? For the county to come through with just more money to help pay for the fire activities, because the county's big. It's 1,380 square miles. You got to drive water out there. There's not very many fire hydrants in the county. There are some. There's a couple. John Smith Road's got 2. But there's not a lot of fire hydrants out there, so you got to truck them in. Yeah. And then when, the fire service contract's a ways out, I don't think the voters have much tolerance for more taxes, even for something that is as important as fire protection is. So the district is a way off, but even if it were closer, from what I'm coming to understand, we would be basically coming into the fire service district with a similar contract to what we're talking about right now. So yeah, I just have an uneasy feeling in my.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that ultimately, I am supporting the chiefs, and I believe the chief's commitment to stick to 3, and we'll have full support. My understanding is that we have support from the staff, the firefighters, because they have that understanding as well. So we will be staffing at 3. The important thing is to move us towards a fire district. That is the important thing. So we are going to have to all work together to reach the fire district. It is very possible. It isn't an extra tax. I will just correct you on that, Vice Mayor. It's not a new tax. And part of how we'll understand that better is through a feasibility study. So we have to go through that, is through the feasibility study, and we need to get there as soon as we possibly can. So I know that we always want more and need more for safety, and then we will always support our firefighters, and we need to work together to get to that fire district so that there's better control, direct control from our community. So they have direct decision-making power through the fire district. And I think all together that will be best for our region. So that's where I stand on this. Okay, so that's all I have to say. So can we move forward with the motion? We just need to give you direction to move forward with this, right? You're going to bring it back to us. We don't need a motion.
No, this is for a motion to approve. How it would work
Okay.
is if you approve the terms,
Okay,
then I would present these to both the county and San Juan Bautista. If they approve, you're delegating the authority for me to execute those agreements.
okay, okay.
Mayor Stevens, I vote that we vote to deny 5.1. Thank you.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, we need a motion. We need a motion.
I move to deny. That's my motion.
I make a motion to amend the agreement to have 3 firefighters per truck instead of 2. Not change the dollar amount, but also change the term of the language from 4 years to 1 year. And have a stronger termination clause.
Would I have to accept that friendly amendment, City Attorney?
No, that wasn't a friendly amendment. That was an entirely different motion. So what would happen is if there's a second to Councilmember Morales's motion, that motion would be heard first.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, so I want to make a motion to, okay, so let me, is there a second on either Councilmember Resendez or Councilmember Morales's?
You would start with Councilmember Morales's motion and ask
Okay,
if there's a
is there a
second.
second on that one? Okay, so then is there a second for Councilmember Resendez?
I don't understand the motion.
Okay,
So my understanding is they're asking us to consider giving the city manager to move forward with negotiations with everything that we said here tonight. I am making a motion to deny that action. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Councilmember Morales?
okay,
Okay.
so I will, so we didn't hear a second on either one of them, so I'm gonna make another motion. I want to make a motion to move forward, give direction to the city manager to move forward with this resolution. I also want to include the amendment of the 3 persons. If that's our intent, we should just have that in there.
So it would
And
be a
then-
motion to approve the resolution with the revision to have 3
3.
staffing.
Yeah, since that's our intent, let's just put it in there. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pache,
No.
Councilmember Resendez,
No.
Councilmember Morales,
No.
Councilmember Deanda,
Wait, sorry, I totally
Yeah.
got lost. I apologize. Wait, what do we,
Yes, did a-
oh, your motion, yeah. Okay, all right. Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes. Okay, didn't pass.
Motion fails. Can we take a 5-minute break so we can,
That's up to council on a 5-minute
No,
break.
let's
but
let's
this-
just go ahead and move
I'd
forward.
like to have some time to speak to the attorney.
There was no alternate motion. I
Okay.
mean, you had 3 separate motions, all of them failed.
What are our options now?
Someone can make a different motion. That's an option. Or
Okay.
you just move on to the next agenda item.
Okay,
we
so
can
the
read them
majority
through
that
it.
voted no, what are our options according to Robert's Rules of Order?
On which motion? Because there were 3 motions where there was a no vote.
So there was 2 motions, none of them had a second. The third
Councilmember,
one,
do you want to make another motion on this? Is that what you're asking?
Make another motion.
I just want to get some clarity
Okay.
if I can. Thank you. So there was 2 motions, those 2 didn't have a second. The third motion was made by by the mayor to adopt as is and to include the language for the 4, for the 3. And then the other one was, and that one failed, right? So apparently I can, if I want to, if I'm understanding this correctly, make a motion to approve as is.
Yeah, you can make that
you can
motion.
do that.
Go
Move.
ahead.
I will move to adopt as is.
Okay, now you need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, and then you need a roll call vote, Mayor.
Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Pache,
No.
Councilmember Resendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Morales,
No.
Councilmember DeAnda,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move forward then to agenda item 5.2, resolution approving a Hollister Independence Day Rally security agreement with American Global Security and delegating authority to the city manager or designee to execute the agreement. Can we get a staff report, please?
Give me just one moment, Mayor. Okay, the item before you this evening is to approve a security agreement with American Global Security and delegate authority to the city manager or designee to execute the agreement. As you know, the city will be holding the Hollister Independence Rally on July 4th and 5th. And so what we are doing is we are bringing forward to you tonight the ability to contract with American Global Security to provide your security for the 2-day event. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Okay, not seeing.
I have a
Go ahead.
quick
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Go ahead, Vice Mayor. On the
So
agreement.
obviously, public safety is
No,
paramount.
we moved on to the next agenda item. Sorry. We're on agenda item 5.2 related to the security contract
Does that
So-
relate to public safety?
I'm sorry.
So I do have a
Okay,
question.
go ahead, sorry.
My question is, the 4th of July is coming very soon. And public safety is of paramount importance. Like, I would love for the businesses downtown to be awash with new customers, maybe straddling, iron horses and rolling in here with, saddlebags full of money. That would be great, but public safety is the #1 thing. I'm confused as to how our partner for the private security portion so close to the rally, how that fell through. I just
Wait.
want some backstory on that.
Yeah, I'm not going to discuss that in open session.
Okay, so anything else, Vice Mayor? Okay, let's go ahead then. Any other questions? Okay, public comment, please.
Elias Salinas, followed by Tyler.
First question, I hope someone can answer, and so one of you members will ask is, where's the contract? It's public information. And for $270,000, you want to approve something tonight. Where's the transparency? Where's the contract? How many people? What's the logistics on it? Now you had the city go out for and ask for bids. And I understand you only got less than 3. Then one came in close to 300, and the city said, no, that's too much for the right amount of security. Then lo and behold, the second bid came in way down to under what the city had last week. They said, we have $150,000 we've budgeted for the rally. And that $150,000 was going to cover the contract for the security. Then the security person found out, oh, wait, we need more people. I need to charge more money. Then that company says, I can't do it. That's exactly what happened. I don't know why the board, your council members did not discuss this in closed session. So you are fully informed, transparency on what is going on here. Then all of a sudden, this third company comes in, and I don't even know where they came from, because they didn't even put in a bid when they were asked for a request for a proposal or request for a quote. What is going on here? Who gave direction without approval from the council to personally reach out to a third company who came in at $270,000? We had a company here that you could have negotiated with in plenty of time, who happens to be locally female-owned company. Why are you going with a company that's out of Los Angeles? And not only that, how did they come into the picture? Where's the transparency? Why do you council members not know what's going on? And if you do know what's going on, you're not coming forward and putting it out on the record that you just recently said it's going to make us millions of dollars. We have sponsors for, I think you said $450,000 sponsors. Who are the sponsors? How much money are they paying for? And security obviously is going to come out of the pocket of the city for $270,000 for a budget you just claimed last week was only $150,000. Where is this money coming from? And you just gave the county a bonus of $400 million a year.
Thank you, Ms. Salinas. Next speaker.
Tyler, followed by Rick Perez.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Tyler Jordan. I represent Level 1 Private Security. We've actually done the security for the rally starting in 2011 up to when it hasn't happened anymore. I'm here tonight to express my serious concerns regarding the process and transparency surrounding the $270,000 security contract currently on the agenda. Level 1 holds a 5-year contract with the city of Hollister to provide security guard and patrol services across all city departments, allowing any department to utilize our services when needed. We were asked back in January to submit a preliminary quote for security services for the rally. After submitting a quote, which included security officers, metal detectors, ID scanners, camera trailers, along with 2 highly trained consultants with the expertise in these type of events and threat management, it was expressed to us that our quote exceeds a certain amount and the city would have to go out to bid. In February, we were invited to submit a quote for the rally following the council's February 18th decision to proceed after receiving 3 quotes. We submitted a comprehensive proposal. It would have equaled out to around $173,000 and requested a response back by March 15th so we could properly prepare. However, a new RFQ was unexpectedly issued on March 20th with no explanation of changes in scope or expectations. At that point, we were not given adequate time to respond or mobilize the necessary personnel. A new company was then selected, costing over $100,000, but after raising concerns, they ultimately revoked their contract, despite offering fewer security officers and a more limited scope of services. Now a different company from outside the area has apparently been selected with a proposed contract totaling 270,000. This raises a few questions. Why wasn't a new RFQ or RFP issued when the scope clearly has changed? What is the current scope of services being provided under this contract? And why has there been no response for our repeated attempts to contact the city manager? We're simply asking for fairness, transparency, and a clear explanation of how these decisions were made. Level One has a proven record of performance with the city of Hollister, and we remain fully committed to serving this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Let me
Next
s-
speaker.
Let me set this up. I don't want to someone to start tripping out on me. Okay. Welcome, council. Um, um, it's like, I think the last time I was up here, it was like kind of chaotic, and it was because I was talking about this issue about transparency, the lack of leadership, the lack of leadership, the, um, and I went through how I was part of that first ad hoc committee, fire committee, and the routines and how it happened, how Mr. Resendez was chomping at the bit to start this motion to set the motion, and um, and then it went back, and you stopped it, and then you went back and had the conversation, the backroom deal that you guys are always complaining about, especially you and Ignacio, always the backroom deals. But anyway, so you know what? And now tonight, you went backwards again. You make a motion, you go to vote on it, and you don't know what you're making a vote on,
City attorney,
and
Yeah, the agenda item
deny
is
it.
the
You
bike rally
denied
train
it,
track.
and then you
Mr. Perez?
just want to deny the whole
Mr.
thing.
Perez,
Then you
Mr.
make
Perez,
a motion.
Mr.
to
Perez,
accept
can
it.
you
Oh.
speak to on the item, please? We're talking about the next item. So if you can just stick to that. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. We still got 1 minute and 20 to go. Okay. 14 seconds. 13. Okay. I wish you guys would just help out the city and get up and walk out. Seriously, just walk away. Just walk away, all of you. Just walk away.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perez. Next speaker, please.
No more speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So let's move on. Any other questions or comments from the council? Mr. Perez? Yeah. Okay. Do we have somebody over there? Do we have somebody? Thank you. Can you please? Thank you.
You have
Thank
a sergeant at arms.
Okay, so let's go ahead and come back to the council. Any questions or comments related to this item? Can we just, is there any discussion at the dais, please? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to adopt, Mayor Stevens. Thank you.
Okay, can I get a second? I'll second it. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pache,
Aye.
Council Members Resendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Morales,
No.
Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next item. So we are going to go to the final item, 5.3, waive the city council city requests for future agenda items and information policies to discuss, form, and appoint two city council members to the Hollister Independence Rally Ad Hoc Committee. So can we have a staff report, please?
Give her just one moment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is an item to, again, waive the city council policy and go ahead and discuss, form, and appoint two city council members to a Hollister Independence Rally Ad Hoc Committee. The policy outlines the process by which city council members may add items to the city council meeting agenda. In general, the policy requires the city council to discuss adding an item at one meeting, and then if the item is approved, the item is added to a subsequent agenda. In order to both approve adding an item and to discuss the item at the same city council meeting, the city council must first waive the policy. The policy was adopted by the city council, so the council may also waive its own policy. The recommendation or the recommended motion to waive the policy is I move to waive this council request for future agenda items and information policy to discuss, form, and appoint two city council members to a Hollister Independence Rally. If that motion passes, then you would go on to further discuss the formation of the ad hoc committee and appoint members. So it's going to be a two-step process. I recommend that you ask any questions of me and then open it to the public and then bring it back and I'll walk you through that two-step process.
Okay, any questions? Questions? No? Okay. So this is my thought is that since we're getting really close to the date, my thought is that this would be an opportunity for members of the council to assist with the final details in the planning. So with that, I mean, that's sort of what I'm thinking. There's going to be a lot of details, especially related to just different tasks, especially around maybe the need for volunteers or other things. And so with that, my question is that an appropriate use of the ad hoc? And then what would that look like if we were to move in that direction?
Yes, so that is an appropriate use of the ad hoc. An ad hoc that contains less than a majority of council is not a Brown Act committee, so there's no Brown Act rules to follow. You don't need to post any meeting notices, agenda notices. So there is a staff works together at various meetings to plan this rally. The ad hoc committee could become part of that, as well as work with the vendor for security or work with the police chief, working with staff basically to get this accomplished.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, can we go to public comment, please?
Elias Salinas.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a little late for this ad hoc committee. Honestly, this should have been done a long time ago. You would have been involved in all this and you would have been involved in this fiasco when it comes to the security company and what happened there. I am totally at awe as to why no one had any questions on how this happened. How are you going to, as an ad hoc committee, be able to keep track of what's going on if when you're here, you don't even have any questions? How do you plan to operate? You know, and former council member Rick Perez made a statement, and Madam Mayor, there's a quorum. There's decorum in this. No, this is leading up to what I could
Yeah.
see.
Okay,
There's
please,
decorum
thank you.
on this and what happens. And when you have individuals that are being out in the public representing the city on this ad hoc committee, whomever it is that you appoint, need to be engaged in the community. Need to be out there engaged. You mentioned volunteers. Never heard the city go out looking for volunteers. So I don't exactly know what it is that you're visioning, your vision is with regards to that. I would like you're going to have your discussion, and I would request that you consider putting, if she is agreeable to it, putting Dolores Morales, Councilmember Dolores Morales, to this ad hoc committee, because honestly, in my opinion, from what I've seen, for the last 6 months, she comes here, she comes prepared. So she's going to go to a meeting. She's going to be part of this ad hoc committee. She's prepared. She does her homework. She asks questions. Priscilla Deanda, I've never heard her say anything, and you cannot appoint somebody like her to go out there, because even today, I mean, she just proved the status that she has placed herself in by being up there in the dais. Roland Resendez is an embarrassment to this community. So I would strongly recommend that you also appoint Rudy Pache to this, because he also seems to want to be engaged and do some homework and try to get some facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salinas.
There are no more
No more.
speakers for this.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. I want to move forward to adopt waiving the city council city request for future agenda items and information policy to discuss, form, and appoint 2 city council members to a Hollister Independence Rally ad hoc committee. And I would make the recommendation that you and I are on that ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Okay, so your first step is to waive the rules, and then the next would be a motion to approve the resolution and name the council members. You did. You have a motion pending to waive the rules, so you would need a
Wait,
second.
Okay, need a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pache, Councilmember Resendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Morales, Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes. Okay.
So now the next motion would be a motion to approve the resolution, forming the ad hoc and appointing 2 people to it, and name those 2 people.
If I can, Mayor Stevens, I'll move to form an ad hoc committee for the biker rally. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, that would be my motion.
But you need to name the 2 council members you would propose to be
I'd
on that.
recommend myself and the Mayor Stevens for that. Thank you.
That's your pending motion.
Okay, and can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Morales, Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this brings us to the end, and if there's no further business, we will move to adjourn.